Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to our live stream for the 8th Winter 2019-2020 update. We're going to be talking about the 8th Winter 2019-2020 update for you with this live stream. We'll be here for an hour between 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock. And we'll see what you thought to the 8th Winter update. It's been a really busy day at Gamsworth Vids today, so if you've not kept up with all of the updates, of course we've had the 8th Winter 2019-2020 update today, so that was another real epic. Lasted over an hour, 1 hour 6 minutes. Not quite the longest we've ever done, but certainly getting on for that. Also, though, as well as that, we've released the ECMWF Meteo France and DWD long-range update. So that's quite an interesting update, actually. Strong westerly winds suggested with that. Again, a lot of the long-range models at the moment are going for a mild winter and a very westerly Atlantic dominated winter as well. So the ECMWF and Meteo France models aren't alone in that. The DWD did eventually get to that, but it took a while to get there. There was a little bit more cold potential with the DWD for the early part of winter. Anyway, I'm giving the game away, so if you haven't seen that, do have a look at that video as well. And then at Gamsworthvids.com, we've released the third written update for Christmas. So I think that's going to be a pretty interesting read. Last week was suggested, the second Christmas update suggested a cold Christmas was likely. This one is flipped a little bit, but I'll let you have a look at Christmas update and see what you think. So, busy day at Gamsworth. I've still got to get the written version of the 8th winter update done as well. I haven't done that yet. I'll get that done after the live stream. So, if anybody's waiting for that, it'll be after 8 o'clock tonight, and I will get that posted to the winter updates page. Let's have a look at the chat then. Just say that Super Chat is enabled for this live stream. So if you want your comment to stand out and to be highlighted to you, then that's the way to do it. You can Super Chat, and I'll be able to give you an answer to your comment or question definitely then. Otherwise, I'm going through the live chat as we're doing this. I'll pick out as many comments and questions as I can. We have been getting quite busy with these live streams recently, so I may not be able to get through everybody's comments. I'll do as many as I can. If I miss anybody out, then really sorry about that. I always feel very bad about missing people out when they go to the trouble of listening to the live stream and commenting and asking questions. But of course, if it's busy, then I'm not going to be able to do all questions and comments. So just a question of whether I'm able to see it. Right, so let's go through the live chat then and see who's with us. So I've got 34 people watching already. We've only been talking for a couple of minutes. So hello and thank you so much everybody for tuning in on this Sunday evening. I think we can say Sunday evening now. It's getting rather dusky outside, so I think it's okay to say Sunday evening this week. Thank you everybody for tuning in on this Sunday evening and listening to our live stream discussing the 8th Winter 2019-2020 update. Right, so we've got Sheeran with us. First comment, evening Gavin. So evening Sheeran, thank you so much for tuning in this evening. Hope you're having a lovely Sunday. We've also got Funniest Comment with us in first. Funniest Comment Ford. They was in first, but actually Sheeran beat him to it. Henry W is with us saying hello Gavin. So hello Henry, thank you for tuning in on this Sunday evening. Also Sane is with us as well. So hi Sane, thank you so much for tuning in. Funniest comment, notice that we started a minute early. Yes, that's true, but I didn't start speaking until 5 o'clock. The software we're using, you have to start it up and then go over to YouTube and get set up. So I always started about a minute or so before 5, but I don't actually start speaking until 5 o'clock. So I think that counts as the live stream not starting until 5. Alex Duncan is with us saying, hey Gav. So hi Alex, thank you for tuning in this evening. Can everybody please smash your like button as well and let us know that you are enjoying our live stream this evening. Funniest comment is hoping for snow and easterly winds. I think, excuse me, got a little bit of a tickle, so I may need to stop and have a drink of water while I'm doing this, by the way. Yeah, I think funniest comment that a lot of people are hoping that we have some cold and snowy weather this winter. I'm aware that a lot of people who are watching the winter updates are hoping for a cold winter, so I don't think you're alone in that somehow. Katrine Baso is with us saying good evening, Gavin. So good evening, Katrine. Thank you for tuning in on this Sunday evening. Savvy is with us saying, hey Gav, hope all is well. I'll be sending you a picture later on Twitter. I'll look out for it, Savvy, and I'll give you a retweet as well. If anybody wants to share their weather pictures, by the way, we're always happy to share them on our social media accounts. So you can tweet them to us at to twitter.com/GavinPartridge, that's the Twitter handle, and also of course we've got Gazworthy's Facebook page as well, and we've got a comment section at gazworthy's.com. So always happy to give you excuse me again, always happy to give you a share on our social media. And sometimes we feature them in the videos as well. It just depends if we've got enough time to feature them in the vids. But if we have, then we do feature particularly snow and lightning pictures in the videos sometimes. Adam Blunsdon is telling us that it was his birthday yesterday, so happy birthday for yesterday, Adam. Hope you had a lovely day. It was my birthday on Thursday as well. And by the way, big thanks to everybody who gave happy birthday wishes and posted to me on Twitter, on Facebook, on Gazworthy's.com, and on YouTube to wish me a happy birthday. Really, very, very kind indeed. I can't reply to everybody because there's just so many people wishing me a happy birthday. But big thank you to everybody for doing that. Got 47 people with us this afternoon. So hello and thank you for tuning in on this Sunday evening. We'll scroll down, chat a little bit more, and we can see a few comments are definitely coming in now. So just to say that when I'm going through the live chat here, I'm scrolling through, but sometimes it kind of pulls down to the bottom of the channel. I have to roll back up to where I got to. So there's a little delay sometimes. It's because I'm scrolling back up to see what you're all saying. So Mark Johnson, afternoon Gav, just finished watching the 8th winter update, good timing. I have to admit to not taking your advice about having a healthy snack, lol. I had some cookies with my tea. Well, it's up to you, Mark. You can have what you want with your snacks while you're watching the winter updates. It is a bit of a marathon, or they are a bit of a marathon winter update, so I don't blame you for having one or two cookies with your cup of tea while watching the winter updates. Yeah, so that's great. So I don't blame you for doing that, to be honest. That's what I'd have if I was watching winter update as well, I think. So we've got Alex Duncan. Just a quick side note. I'm impressed with the amount of northern blocking seen on the charts this early on. What are your thoughts? Is that with the sort of computer model charts, Alex, or with the analogs within the winter updates? I think you're talking about the blocking that we're seeing within the shorter range model output, perhaps. If so, yes, it is interesting, and it's something that we've seen quite a bit of, actually, over the past few months. You remember we entered into the negative phase of the NAO back around the end of April, which we discussed in the 8th winter update as well, of course. So we entered that at the end of April, and since then we have seen, with this negative NAO and sometimes negative AO combination, we have been seeing quite a lot of northern blocking within the model output. So yeah, I think we can definitely say that it's interesting. It's the pattern product mode is a far cry from the usual typical the usual typical zonal pattern that you would expect at this time of the year. So the overall weather pattern does remain quite interesting, I think. Even if the weather itself isn't particularly interesting. Well, I thought this autumn is turning into quite a different autumn, really, in that we have that very wet end to September, and October has also been a very wet month so far. If you're fed up with the rain, by the way, we are in for a bit of a window of drier weather, I think, in the next few days, but the rain may not be all that far away by the time we get through to the end of the week. A lot of uncertainty about the weather at the end of the week and into next weekend and the beginning of November. Leslie Coyle is saying very excited for next week's solar minimum update. Yes, a ninth winter update, Leslie, is going to be a solar special. So we will be talking about the solar cycles. We're talking about solar minimum. And we'll be explaining and examining what it could mean if you have a solar minimum winter, as well as updating all of our trackers. So that's something that we're really excited about. That's going to be the ninth winter 2019-2020 update that will be with you next week. We've got Sane asking, I wanted to ask, is there a time lag between the SOI and sea surface temperatures in the ENSO region responding to it? Yes, I think sometimes there is, Sally, and sometimes you will get a situation where there's SOI, so the atmosphere, if you like, the atmospheric setup, and the ocean don't couple, actually. So sometimes you have the SOI pointing in one direction, or the atmospheric setup, as it's only an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state. So you get the atmospheric setup going in one direction, and the sea surface temperature anomalies going in another direction. And that does happen more frequently than you might expect. But yes, there is sometimes a time lag between what the atmosphere is doing and what the oceans are doing. Mark Kinish is with us saying, hi Gavin, is that very worrying for us getting a cold winter this winter, seeing models today on today's winter update and Meteo France and ECM? Does it mean 100% they are right? So no, Mark, it doesn't. A lot of these long-range models do seem to be sort of set up towards milder and warmer outcomes. So a big health warning with any forecast that's beyond sort of 5 days. The reliable time frame for forecasting is 5 to 7 days, sometimes up to 10 days. If you're in a zonal pattern, you can sometimes forecast quite reliably in like a very sort of trough ridge type zonal setup. But generally, no. It's more the case that if you extend out beyond 7 days, health warnings are required. And if you're going in towards seasonal long-range forecasting, particularly model-based seasonal long-range forecasting, then you really are just talking about a snapshot. So that's what the model looks like at that particular time. But definitely you do need to have a big health warning with that, whatever it's showing. And the same is true if it's showing blocking and colder conditions for the winter, of course. Mr. Burns is with us. Hi, Gav. Looks like we're going to have a really mild winter this year if the models are right. So definitely, Mr. Burns, if model output was right. Bear in mind, I haven't actually done the season model roundup for this winter yet. The second one, we did the first one back in September. We've not done the second seasonal model roundup for the winter of 2019-2020 yet. So I think we've clearly seen, though, that a lot of the long-range models are pointing towards a milder westerly direction for this winter. We will confirm that on Saturday, that's this coming Saturday, when we do the second seasonal roundup winter of 2019-2020. But definitely the models are pointing in that direction. But of course, that doesn't mean the models are right. I assume most of these long-range models are picking up on the same signal that is driving them to this very mild and zonal westerly type winter. But the signal that they are probably all picking up on might be the wrong signal, if you see what I mean. So just because you've got a consensus doesn't necessarily mean it's the correct consensus. We do sometimes see situations where we will have nearly all season models going in a particular direction and they've all gone off in the wrong direction. So that's just something to bear in mind, that just because we have a consensus, I think when we do the second season one roundup for this winter, I think we will confirm that we have a consensus for mild Atlantic-based westerly zonal conditions this winter. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are all that the consensus is the correct one. Henry W, I've had a proper cold winter for 2020. I'm hoping for an interesting year weather-wise. So again, Henry, I think a lot of people are hoping for a cold winter. Definitely, a lot of people watching these videos are hoping for a cold winter. I'm sure there are exceptions, though. There are people out there that would much rather have a mild winter, particularly those that have got energy bills to pay for. A lot of people will be hoping for a mild and a mild Atlantic-driven winter, but a lot of people watching our videos, I think, are definitely hoping for a colder winter. We've got 58 people watching us this Sunday evening, so hello and a big thank you to all of you. Now 60 people watching us. Hello and a big thank you for tuning in on this Sunday evening. Please give us a like and let us know that you are enjoying the live stream discussing the 8th winter 2019 2020 update. What did you all think to the winter update, by the way? I thought it was a little bit different, this one, in the last sort of 15 minutes anyway, when we talked about winters following years that have above average but not hyperactive hurricane seasons. I didn't mention in the video, but it's actually the case that there are more years that have hyperactive hurricane seasons than have above average hurricane season. I'm not sure why that would be the case. You would think that the hyperactive years would be fewer in number compared to the above average years, and then of course average years would be more numerous, and so on. But actually, as I went through the page at Wikipedia, it turns out that there are more hyperactive years for hurricane seasons than there are above average. This year isn't above average, of course. So I thought that was quite interesting. I forgot to mention it in the video, but quite an unusual anomaly there. That the extreme sort of hyperactive hurricane seasons would be more common than above average. I was quite surprised about that. If anyone knows why that would be the case, then please share with us on the live chat. I'd love to know. So we've also got Mark Knish asking, do you think it'll be harder for your winter forecast this year? So it is proving to be quite challenging. Again, Mark, we've got several different factors that are competing with one another again this year. It does seem to be the case over the past 2 or 3 years that we haven't had a tremendously sort of straightforward scene. I think the last really straightforward one that we did was probably 2015-16 when we had the Super Nino, and so we knew that with that Super Nino that was likely to override most other signals or all other signals and was likely to produce quite a mild winter. That was the last one that I can remember being fairly straightforward. Since then, they've all tended to be quite complicated with lots of competing factors. So we shall see. Definitely, I still don't really have a feel for this winter, I have to say. Usually by now I'm starting to get a few ideas about where the winter is likely to be going, or where I think it's likely to be going. This year, I'm going to say that just a little bit of a nag at the back of my mind about what is going on here with various factors competing with one another. So I think it's going to be another pretty complicated forecast, definitely. Jeremy's asking, is it possible to accurately predict solar cycles? For example, the next one, are the peaks and troughs bigger than previous solar cycle, and also length of solar cycle? So I think solar cycle forecasting is actually fraught with problems, Shiram. Generally, the forecasts in the past for solar cycles have tended to be pretty poor. So the current solar cycle that we are in, solar cycle 24, when the forecast for that came out at the end of solar cycle 23, most of them were going for quite an active season. Actually, quite an active solar cycle, I should say. And of course, we've had a much weaker solar cycle. I don't think when the forecasts were coming out for solar cycle 24, back at the end of 23, that I don't think many of the forecasts were pointing towards the weakest solar cycle for like 100 years or more. So always, I think, very, very difficult and fraught with danger in terms of forecasting the next solar cycles. But people do give it a go. NASA gives it a go, and there are other people out there that give it a go. So yeah, you just have to take any forecast for solar cycles, I think, with a real pinch of salt. Mr. Burns is asking what super chat. So there's a little box at the bottom of the of this chat box, Mr. Burns, that's got a dollar symbol on it. You just click that. You can pledge a certain amount of money. I'm not sure what the minimum is, and it will highlight your comment, and it'll flash it up to me as a highlighted comment. So you essentially you're paid to comment if you like. You don't have to do that. It makes the comment sort of stand out. It sort of comes up to me as like a coloured comment with much brighter and bigger, so that I see it. But you don't have to do that. You can just comment as normal as you are doing, and that is absolutely fine. It's just if anybody wants a question answered and they desperately want it answered, then that's how you do it. We got Iceman saying good evening, Gavin. So good evening, Iceman. Thank you for tuning in on this Sunday evening. We've got 68 people watching us now, so hello and a big thank you to all of you for tuning in on this Sunday evening. Please give us a like and let us know that you are enjoying the live stream. J Play 007 is with us, so saying all big weather models talking about a mild winter, positive NAO, and so on. So yeah, that's definitely the direction that the long range models are going into, J Play. And also saying, don't they take into account the prolonged negative NAO, so the minimum tripole, somewhat neutral ENSO, etc. I cannot put my finger on how these computers come up with all of this, to be honest. Well, remember though that the default setup for Northern Europe and for the UK and for the North Atlantic, the default setup is westerly, and it's southwesterly, and it's mild in winter. So that's why people always get very excited about cold winters, of course, in the UK, because it's an exception to the norm, although you wouldn't think it by some of the forecasts that get released every single winter, always going for freezing cold winters and loads of snow. If you took those forecast on face value, you will think we are like a frozen wasteland every year in winter, but it's not the case. Actually, cold winters and snowy winters are very much an exception to the norm. And so what could be going on, of course, with a lot of these long-range models is that they haven't got a clear indication of what's going to happen, and so they're just defaulting back to the default setup, which, as I say all the time, it's westerly, it's zonal. It's low pressure around Iceland, it's high pressure through the Azores with a strengthened jet stream and zonal flow. So that could be what is going on with a lot of these long-range models. It could be, but again, you can't really say what particular factor is driving a model into the direction it's going into. All we can say, and we'll confirm it on Saturday, is that we do seem to have a consensus towards a milder, wetter, Atlantic-driven type winter, and that's basically as much as we can say. Funniest comment saying hope to get to minus 22 degrees Celsius, just like in 2012, which happened in the Netherlands. So, yeah, there was a really cold spell, actually. It was a relatively mild winter for Western Europe, 2011, 2012, but there was a really cold spell, severely cold, in February, I think, of 2012. So, yeah, well, you never know. It just goes to show that even in a mild winter, you can, of course, get a one-off spell of really cold and sometimes snowy conditions too. Katri Baso is saying, I have been looking back at old BBC weather forecasts for October 2008, and I feel this October's weather is similar to October 2008. Well, we'll be able to confirm that, Katri, when we do the October data at the beginning of, in the winter updates in the beginning of November. So we'll have a look and see which Octobers this October's been similar to. I think it's a little bit wetter than 2008. It has been a little bit wetter than 2008, but I could be wrong on that. Maybe 2008 was a rather wetter October than I remember. Of course, it did then get the cold northerly in the closing days of October 2008, and we had some very unusual snow across southern England. I think that's something like a 1 in 30 to 50 year event. So was a memorable month, definitely October 08. I don't remember it though being especially wet, but perhaps it was. We will confirm that, of course, as I say, when we do the winter updates during the probably first couple of weeks of November. I would have. I'm just scrolling back up to the chat because I pulled down to the bottom again. Lots and lots of comments coming in. So a big thank you to all of you for commenting and for getting involved in this live stream, for listening to us. Thank you so much to all of you for doing that. We've got Mark Hodgkin with us saying would love to have a cold winter. Again, Mark, I think a lot of people are hoping for a cold winter and are watching these winter updates, definitely. So Tracy Pye is with us. Hello, Gav. Hoping this winter is a cold one. Not necessarily snow, though I do love the snow. Frosts are my favourite. So again, Tracy, you're not alone. Lots and lots of people who are watching these winter updates are definitely hoping for a cold winter. The question is, will the weather play ball? Very rarely does it play ball in winter, so we'll just have to wait and see what we get. Adrian is with us. Hi, Gav, from Romania. It's been really warm here in the last week. 27 degrees centigrade today where I live. Looks like we could have our first taste of winter in about 10 days. There is a lot of uncertainty. Yeah, it could be that sort of parts of northeastern and then eastern Europe and western Russia could see winter really digging in around 7 to 10 days time. As you say, lots of uncertainty about this end of October, beginning of November period. That's been showing up with our weather in the UK. We've been doing the weather videos, we've been seeing that. There's been lots and lots of different options coming and going within the model output for this end of October, early November period, and I assume that's the case for all other parts of Europe as well. But yeah, it's not inconceivable that you could go from some really warm weather into something that really is quite wintry in the next week to 10 days. We shall see, and keep us informed, Adrian, about what's going on over there. 71 people are watching now, so big thank you to everybody for tuning in on this Sunday evening. Please give us a like and let us know that you are enjoying this live stream. Henry W. says, I don't necessarily want a cold winter because I like freezing cold weather, but just something different. The Mile Fest we've had so much of since 1988. Well, of course, we did have a run of colder winters from 0809 to 1213, Henry. So we did get a decent run of colder winters there. We haven't had anything particularly cold, though, since 2012-13, though we did get the beast from the east at the end of February 2018, but of course that was limited really to just a week or so. Other than that, there hasn't been a great deal doing from a cold perspective since 2012-2013. We're certainly due for something a little bit colder, I would say. But of course, just because we are due for a colder winter doesn't necessarily mean that this will be the colder winter. Paul James is with us saying, hi Gav. Hi Paul, thank you so much for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon to our live chat. We're about halfway through the live chat. We're going to be here until 6 o'clock, answering as many questions as we can and taking your comments. So we're discussing the 8th Winter 2019-2020 update. And I say we're going to be here for around another half hour, and then I'll have to go off and write up a written version of the 8th Winter Update to place on Winter Updates page at gavsweathervids.com. So if I can scroll down through the chat and see what everyone's saying. So we've got Toby Scott with us. Evening, Gab. Prefer cold weather for winter, but stormy can be quite lively on the south coast. Love the Analogs packages in today's winter update. Great work. Well, thank you so much, Toby. That's really kind. Thank you so much for saying that. It does take a while to get all of those analogs together, particularly from our analogs guru James Ackrill, slaving away, getting all of the analogs together for us. So big thank you to James, and thank you so much, Toby, for saying that. Again, I don't think you're alone in hoping for a cold winter, but yes, stormy winters can be interesting as well. Those active cold fronts sweeping across the country with bands of rain and gale force winds, and where the warm sectors and colder sectors come and go. That can all be interesting, I think, although I must admit, when we had that very wet and stormy winter in 2013-14, I did get really quite fed up with it in the end. Every time you stepped out the back door, it seemed to be pouring with rain. But certainly stormy winters have quite a bit going for them as well. We've got XX Ninja saying high pressure to be next or over the UK for the first part of the week. Yes, we're going to have a break in the unsettled weather, Ninja X. So we're going to see finally this Atlantic deluge that we've been under since like the last 10 days or so of September. We're going to see it running out of steam for a while. I'm not sure it'll last all that long. I have to say it could well be that by this time next week we're back to pretty wet conditions again, and that might take us into early November, but we shall see about that. At least we're going to get a bit of a break in the unsettled weather. So we've got TurboStream saying, have you heard of Weather Without Technology? They are predicting a hard, cold winter. Yes, I am aware of that forecast, TurboStream. They do their forecasting in a very different way to Gaz. So it's looking at nature and that kind of thing. That's not the way we do it at GazService.com, but there's room for all different methodologies. Of course, I'm very open to other ways of forecasting, and yes, they are going for a cold winter as well. It's not really for me to comment on other people's forecasts, though. So I'll just say that yes, I am aware of it. It's an interesting forecast, and of course we'll see how it goes. We'll see whether GazService.com's winter forecast goes along the same lines of Weather Without Technology or not. But yes, definitely I am aware of it, and I think the methodologies that they use, which are, as I say, very different to Gaz Service, are interesting, and there is room within forecasting for all different sort of ways of forecasting. So Anna Blunsley is asking, Gav's end of GFS going colder for the start of November. I haven't seen much model output today, actually, Adam. So I'll have to have a look at the what models are showing later on when they're all in for the midday runs. So it's possible that we will get some colder weather when we get through to November. We shall see. Matthew Richards is saying, if you drive or you pay your own gas bills, you don't want it cold, but the child in you still wants to experience a winter like 62, 63. And yes, of course, Matthew, the coldest winter since 1740 did show up in our analogs package for the first time today. We did have 62, 63 showing up in our September rain days analogs package for the first time this season, which I felt was quite interesting to see that turning up. So yes, it would be fascinating to experience a winter like 62, 63. Again, the coldest winter since 1740, the daddy of cold winters. But I'm not sure the country would be able to cope with it. I don't know how we'd all get on, really, if it was freezing cold and snow-covered. Deep snow cover for a lot of places as well, for week after week after week. It could be pretty serious for people to be able to cope with it. But from a weather forecasting perspective, of course, you're always hoping to experience those kind of extremes. Paul Miller is saying, hi Gav, still celebrating a Man United goal. Is November still looking colder? Well, congratulations to Manchester United for their goal. I'm unaware of what's gone on there, but anyway, congratulations about that. As far as November is concerned, well, we never actually forecast a cold November, remember, Paul. We did say that we thought November could do something a little bit different in the autumn forecast, and that might be either becoming wetter or becoming colder, but we was unsure about where it would go. Actually, it's turned much wetter through October, so the autumn forecast hasn't gone very well at all. But of course, we will examine that when we get to the end of the season. We'll verify the autumn forecast. As far as November is concerned, certainly the early part of it is causing all sorts of causing all sorts of problems within the model output. And beyond that, I think we just have to say, if it's so uncertain at the beginning of the month, then everything else beyond that is going to be pretty uncertain as well. Olaf Haring is saying, hi Gav, it worries me that BCFS 6-month outlook at the same time last year got 99% right for us in Denmark. So yeah, the CFS, of course, last year was going for a very mild winter. It's doing that again this year. Just to say that past performance is no guarantee for what's going to happen in the future, though. So just because CFS V2, which is always forecasting milder winter, I can't remember the last time it forecast a cold winter for us. I don't think it has done since it had its upgrade in around 2013, I think it was. The CFS is always forecasting a mild winter, and the question will be, when we inevitably have a colder winter, which we will, of course, at some point, just law of averages suggests we're going to have a cold winter. The question will be, will the CFS pick it up in advance? My suspicion is that it won't. My suspicion is that the CFS will forecast a mild winter come what may, and it will be caught out the next time we have a cold winter. Got up to 80 people watching us for the first time in this live stream. Hello, and a big thank you to all of you for tuning in and listening to our live stream on this Sunday afternoon, discussing the 8th Winter 2019-2020 update. So we've got JPDP9 saying, which long-range model has performed the best over the last few winters? Really good videos today. Thank you so much for saying that, JP. That's really kind. Not sure, to be honest. I think the better range of models probably are going to be the ECMWF, I would have thought, probably Meteo France, DWD, all of those models that have only just recently, in the last year or so, come online, because they were all for Pro Mets back in the day. Only up to a couple of years ago, the public was unable to gain access to the ECMWF seasonal model and the Meteo France seasonal model and those long-range model outputs. So as they, for a very long time, were not publicly available, were only available to Met Office forecasters and also to people who could pay a huge amount of money to see them, you would have to say they must be at the top end of the range. There would also be the UK Met Office. That's a pretty decent seasonal model. I think Beijing Climate Centre is quite a good model at times as well, but none of these models are flawless. They all have their limitations, of course. They all get it wrong. So they're at the top end of the range, but just because they're at the top end of the range doesn't necessarily mean that they're right. So they could be all picking up on the wrong things. Ninja X is saying, can the UK have full-on tropical storms? Not really, Ninja. We can get up to tropical storm and hurricane force winds, as we had in 1987, of course, the famous Michael Fish moment. But we can't get technical hurricanes here because the sea surface temperatures are just too cool to be able to sustain those storms. So they will always go sort of subtropical by the time they reach our shores. Got 86 people watching us so far this Sunday evening. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Please hit the like button and let us know that you are enjoying the live stream this afternoon, or I should say now, this evening. Innocent Ferret is saying the reasons why models are suggesting mild is probably because of 97, 98. Well, remember, that was a Super Nino winter, so I don't think there's going to be much impact from 97, 98 on this winter. We're definitely not going to have a really big El Nino event, so I'm not sure there would be a great deal of connection between this winter and 97, 98. Mickey Jones is saying hi, Gav. Hi, Mickey. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon. I'm just going to scroll back up through the chat because it pulled down again. So we have Matthew Richards saying the models are most likely biased as there have been so many zonal winters since the late 80s. Could be, Matthew. I would suspect, again, it's the default setup that we have in the UK. Even back in colder times, our default setup would still be southwesterly generally. Of course, there were more colder winters going back through the decades, but generally the default is west-southwesterly, and so a lot of these line models could be going back to the default setup. Jack Lowe is with us. Evening, Gav. There are reports that the Gulf Stream system has been slowing down recently. If this is true, it may increase the chance of engaging colder UK winters in the near future. So yeah, there's been a lot of reports about the Gulf Stream, hasn't there, Jack, over the past few years. I'm not sure what the evidence for that is based on, but there have been rumours for quite a few years, actually. I remember this being debated on the forum sort of 10, 15 years ago, actually, that the Gulf Stream is slowing. And I think when we had that run of cold winters between 08, 09 and 12, 13, there was quite a bit of speculation at that point that part of that anyway could be down to the slowing of the Gulf Stream. But of course, since then, we've gone into a run of really mild winters. So I'm not sure what the evidence is based on. There's always lots of ideas and theories going around, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. Jarris is saying, hey Gav, do you remember what long-range models are forecasting for winter 10-11? There was the December to remember. So Jarris, it's a long time ago now for me to be able to remember that far back with my now 43-year-old brain. I think most of the large models at that time, there weren't as many of them as we have now, of course. So as the years go by, we are getting access to more and more data, and as I say, particularly the stuff from ECMWF, Meteo France, those models were around, but we couldn't see them. So there's no way of knowing what they were forecasting. But at the time, I think the UK Met Office started warning the government, actually, in October 2010, of what was going to be coming up in that December, what their season model was seeing. So I think the UK Met Office was seeing that December to remember in 2010, and maybe one or two others. But again, remember, there weren't anywhere near as many of the long-range models, at least not publicly available back then, as we have access to today. But definitely the UK Met, we did hear rumours on the forums. UK Met was forecasting the government in October 2010 that by the end of the year we would be freezing cold, and it would be a level of cold and snow that would create problems within the country that would need not a national emergency necessarily, but would definitely need care and attention and preparation. And the UK Met was forecasting about that in October of 2010. I would assume mainly based on what their long-range model was showing at the time. Scrolling down, have a look at one or two more. So Max Crazy Storm is saying GFS has just got interesting. So has it, Max? Again, I haven't been seeing the shorter range models today. I've been too busy working on all of the updates that we've been pushing out today. I'll have to have a look at it later on this evening. Paul Miller is saying, Gav, which is right button. So on the video player, you have a thumbs up, a thumbs down button. Give us a thumbs up and let us know that you're enjoying the live stream. Shiram is asking, hello, Gavin. As we are probably going to be ENSO neutral this winter, does ENSO neutral favour a cold winter? That's something we're going to discuss in winter updates in November, Shiram. So we'll look at the analogues and the reanalysis for we'll look at the reanalysis of the analogues for what an ENSO neutral winter could mean for this winter. So I don't want to prejudge anything. The best setup with proven mix, I think, in Parshas, the best setup for a cold winter is a weak La Nina that has the greatest chance of coinciding with a cold winter. The thing with ENSO is that you don't want it to get too strong on either side, be it a strong El Nino, a Super Nino, or a strong La Nina. So just have to wait and see what the data says when we look at it in probably one of the last winter updates later in November. So if we have a look at one or two more of your comments, and we've got, let's see if I can find one or two more of the comments. So we've got Andrew Watson. So somewhere in Siberia had its first snowfall 2 days ago, which is about the usual time, as did Arctic Siberia, which is a little late for that area of the Arctic, Norilsk area of the Arctic. So I actually saw somebody asking about the snow cover charts that we feature from the National Ice Centre within the winter updates. We always show the snow cover chart for Friday, not Saturday, even though I'm recording the video on Saturday, and somebody wanted to know why we always use Friday rather than Saturday. The reason is that when I'm doing the recording on a Saturday evening, Saturday's chart hasn't updated, so the latest chart we can access is the chart for Friday. Of course, I could wait through the evening and probably start recording around midnight or something. I would have Saturday's chart in then, but that would be too late to be able to do recording, then do process and everything else. So the sort of latest chart that we have access to when we do winter updates is for the Friday. Whether that will be the case when the clocks go backwards, I'm not sure. So it's possible that when the clocks change next weekend, it's possible then we will be able to start accessing the latest chart on the Saturday. But at the minute, the latest chart is always the Friday. And somebody did actually say that there's been an expansion of snow cover across Siberia. So actually, why don't we just turn on the display capture and we'll have a quick look at what's going on across Eurasia and Siberia, perhaps what's happened over the past 24 hours. So if I just turn off the image there and start display capturing, there we go, and then we want to go back to Google Chrome. So this is the chart that we had in for the winter update, for the 8th winter update for Friday, October the 18th. I'll explain why we always show Friday's chart, even though we're recording on a Saturday. So that's it. That's what we saw as the latest chart when we did the winter update yesterday. So we had some snow cover in Scandinavia, we had a little bit of snow cover through central parts of Russia, and we had, of course, the deeper snow cover across sort of Siberia. Had stored a little bit in the previous week, particularly, or from the previous week, particularly this Siberian snow cover. This is the latest. So, indeed, there has been a little bit of an increase in snow cover. This is for Saturday, 19th of October. There has been a little bit of an increase in snow cover compared to the day before. That's the 18th of October, This is the 19th of October. I hope everybody's able to see this, by the way. I know things went a little bit wrong last week when we featured the Beijing Climate Centre, but hopefully you can all see this. So again, that's Friday's snow cover chart. That's Saturday's snow cover chart. Definite expansion of snow across the southern parts of Siberia. And interestingly, a definite increase in snow cover across Scandinavia. And I do sometimes wonder, actually, whether Scandinavia is possibly more important with this than Russia for our weather. So I remember back in 2009 in October, there was a very, very rapid increase in snow cover across Scandinavia during October 2009. I wonder if that's what began the Scandinavian high getting going. That we had on and off throughout the whole of winter of 09-10. Maybe it isn't as important for Scandinavian snow cover as it is for Russian and Siberian snow cover, but I do sometimes wonder about that, whether it's actually Scandinavia that we, on our western side of Europe, but perhaps we should focus on a little bit more than Siberia. But of course we can do both, we do both, so we do keep a close eye on what's happening across Scandinavia as well as what's happening across Russia and Siberia. But anyway, I thought I'd show you that and explain why we use Friday's Eurasian snow cover chart rather than Saturday's snow cover chart. Let's have a look at MeteoSeal as well, shall we? So let's go and have a look at the GFS, perhaps. As somebody has just said that the GFS was showing something interesting. So let's see what it's doing. Still will be updating for the midday run, of course. So this is the current situation. Of course, high pressure is beginning to ridge in at the moment. Again, hope you can see this okay. So high pressure is beginning to ridge in, and it is going to give us a few days of drier weather. As we get through to the second half of next week, though, it looks like we're going increasingly unsettled once again. So I don't think rain is going to be far away. We have got this window of drier weather coming up, but I don't think rain is going to be far away. I think by the time we get through to the end of this week and into next weekend, we are looking at increasingly unsettled conditions. This is getting us to the 28th of October, so it's looking unsettled then. Low pressure is powering in from off the Atlantic. We do see some height rises to the north. This is all still quite relatively mild and also quite unsettled as well, of course. So GFS is updated at the moment, 324 hours, so I'm not going to be able to show you the whole of the midday run of the GFS, but let's see what it's doing. So it looks like it's having a go at building up the Scandinavian high as we get up towards the beginning of November. So we have got a bit of a Scandinavian high trying to build, but it looks like it's collapsing actually as low pressure sort of powers in from off the Atlantic, and then that gets us into the 6 o'clock run, which is going to be on its way out very shortly. So it pulls in cold air both to northeastern parts of Europe. That will increase the snow cover across Scandinavia. We will see an increase in snow cover, if that's right, in the next week to 10 days. And that's why the Scandinavian high is attempting to build there, of course. It's snow-covered and cold ground, and over that, the Scandinavian high is having a go at building. Gets broken down, though, by low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic. So it just looks quite unsettled, even to the start of November. And as I say, this window of drier weather that we're going to have starting tomorrow, that window of dry weather, I don't think is going to last all that long. I think we will be back to unsettled conditions probably for the north and west as early as Wednesday, and for the rest of us by the end of next week, I would have thought. I hope you all enjoyed that little bit of screen sharing. I'm going to be late now with your comments. I'm going to be behind with your comments, but thought we'd throw that in and see what people thought about it. So we're going to be here for just a little bit longer. We're going to be here until 6 o'clock, and then I'm going to have to end the live stream and go off and write up the written version of the 8th Winter 2019-2020 update, which I'm going to get up for you on the Winter Updates page by 8 o'clock this evening, if anybody is waiting to see that. So we've got Los Cold Pass saying dry Octobers bring interesting winters almost always, though. I think we examined that a year or two back, and yes, there does definitely seem to be a connection between dry Octobers and colder winters. It doesn't seem to depend, interestingly, whether it's a particularly warm October or a cold October. Sometimes you can get warm dry, as in October 1995, for example. Sometimes you can get cold dry. Doesn't seem to matter particularly what the temperature does, but it does seem as though colder winters do tend to occur after dry October. And of course, this October has been very wet. But then again, we've never actually looked at wet Octobers, I don't think, when we've been doing these winter updates. It's been a long time since we had a very wet October. So I think that will be something we'll be looking at in the winter updates early next month. So sort of update 10 or 11. And it will be interesting because it'll be the first time we've done it to see what sort of winters are favoured after a wet October. We know that dry Octobers do definitely favour colder winters, though. Excuse me. So, scrolling down through the chat, we see that Richard61 is saying your latest snow cover image also shows a sizable chunk of additional snow over snow cover in Canada. So I didn't focus on Canada, Richard, but yes, of course, very rapidly we'll be seeing expansion of snow cover across Canada and northern parts of America too. So we're going to be wrapping this up in around 5 minutes' time. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in on this Sunday evening. I know I've had to miss out a few of the comments because of doing that little bit of screen share, but I did want to get that in with this live stream and show you that latest chart for snow cover across Scandinavia and also across Russia too. So very sorry to anybody that has had their comment missed out. We will be doing this again next week, so you'll have opportunities in the next few weeks to ask your questions and comments too. So we've got, if we can have a look at one or two more, we've got B. Seawood asking us, Gav, how's Kinross looking for the 25th to 28th of October? Is snow a possibility? Just went through those charts, B. Seawood, with the GFS. So it's looking like it's going to turn more unset. I think that's the gist of where the model output is going, that as we get towards the end of next week and as we get to the next weekend, we're going to see increasing amounts of rain returning once again. So we are going to have a break from this wet weather, but I'm not sure it's going to last all that long. And I would suspect you're going to have to prepare for wet weather. Not necessarily cold, but I suspect you're going to have to prepare for wet weather up there in Kinross. Christopher Armes is pointing out that I've missed his comment, so let's just see if I can scroll back up and find it. I can't see it, Christopher, so if you could repost that, if you could post that again within the next 5 minutes, that would be really good, and I'll do my best to answer it for you. I can't see, going back up through the chat, I can't see your comment, so I'm not sure where it is. If you could repost that before we go at 6 o'clock, that would be really good. We've also got Marching asking how will winter be in Europe. So again, we don't know what's going to happen for the UK, and that's primarily where we're forecasting for Marching or Martin. That's primarily where we're forecasting for in the UK. So I think we have to say that the signals are conflicting, and we're just going to have to wait and see. And I'm sorry I can't give you a better answer than that, really. But I don't want to sort of lead anyone astray by saying this is certain to happen or that is certain to happen. So let's just wait and see. But when we release the forecast, the winter forecast, at the end of November, or actually going to be on the 1st of December, but I'll have to get it together for the end of November. When we do that, we will attempt to do a little bit of forecasting for more wider areas in Europe as well. So just watch this space and wait for the forecast is what I'd say. Carmen Dublin is with us. I love your weather updates about the worldwide weather. Thank you so much, Carmen. That really is very, very kind of you to say that. So thank you so much for that. Andrew Watson, Norway always surprises me, although a long way north, it can be very exposed to mild Atlantic, but snow can often be seen in October in many of webcam places due to the high altitudes. That's right, Andrew. So they are very much exposed to westerly winds, but much higher altitude means that snow cover and snow opportunities are very much available. So we've got Christopher's question in now. So you mentioned in the past that solar minimum might have a relationship with blocking. How's this winter looking as far as that's concerned? Christopher, we're going to be looking at solar minimum winters next week. So I can't say anything this week in this live chat. We're going to be looking at that next week in the 9th winter update. We're going to do a solar special and all will be revealed then. And I know a lot of you are waiting to see this solar special 9th winter update. And going to be a pretty interesting winter update, I think. So that will be the focus of the Analogues packages next week for the 9th winter update. And I think that pretty much covers it. So we've been talking for an hour. Thank you so much, all of you, for tuning in to our live stream this evening discussing the 8th winter 2019-2020 update. So had loads of comments. I know I couldn't get through all of them. And if anybody has been left out, then really sorry about that. So I always feel bad about people's comments and questions being left unanswered when I've gone to the trouble of asking and commenting. But again, time is always against us, and I've got to go off and get a bit of tea in a minute, then write up the written version of the 8th winter 2019-2020 update, which if anybody's waiting for that, you'll be able to see it at gazservice.com on winter updates page after 8 o'clock this evening. Right, so that's it, and I'm going to end the live stream there. I've told you what we're going to be focusing on, of course, for next week's 9th winter update. The coming week, I think the focus of the videos, week 10-day video updates and whatnot, I think the focus of a lot of that is going to be what's happening at the end of October into the beginning of November. Hopefully things will start to become a little bit clearer as we go through the next few days. But that'll be the focus of the video updates, week 10-day video updates in the next few days. Would have thought. And then next week's 9th winter 2019-2020 update is going to be that solar special that we're all very excited about. Right, so thanks so much for tuning in, and I'm going to end the live stream there. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, and bye for now.